And good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 for Thursday, August 17th, 2023. The selling continued for most of the session today, and the wave count also continues. And as I had suggested, I believe, in last night's update, that within this minute wave 5 in both the S&P and in the NASDAQ, and I'm beginning with the NASDAQ here today, the market is, or the wave count is, subdividing. So the minute fifth wave is subdividing, and thus far it is appearing that it is subdividing twice within the third wave. And overall, it is, outside of that, it's pretty normal thus far. So let's just do a catch up here and then see what is yet to come. As I've been counting, it is let me just jump up to the 4 hour, and then pull it open so we can see it on a little bit bigger picture. Still looking at it within the preferred count, which suggests that the primary B wave completed at 16,062. And that was on July the 19th. We've been involved in putting in the initial first 5 waves down on minute degree, inner wave 1. Again, quick review. In primary wave C, it will consist of 5 waves of intermediate degree. If we look at the first intermediate wave down, it's going to consist of 5 waves of minor degree. If we take a look at minor wave 1, it will consist of 5 waves of minute degree. So here we are, minute 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're in 5, and it is pretty classic, let me just say. It really is very classic. It's coming down, it's meeting support levels, it's then violating the support levels as it should as the market continues to drop. And I'm going to show you that what really kind of works out for us is how internally the comparisons that we use for fifth waves compared to the first wave continues to fall cleanly into play here. And so again, we're in 1, 2, 3, 4, and minute done. We're in minute 5. Our first fib that we're going to put together is minute 5 as it compares to minute wave 1. Well, we surpassed today pretty cleanly the 100% level. And I really anticipated that it would, but I thought we might have gotten away where that minuette wave 3 may have completed that level. We got a 4 and then a drop. The fact is that we got internally the subminuette 3 completed here of that third. So of minuette wave 3, the subminuette wave completed the third wave here in the fourth, and then that 5 just kind of blasted all the way down. Once it cleared the low of 3, I was looking, man, we had a possibility it could have stopped there at 14,863, which would have made 100% of minute wave 5. And I thought, not that I was looking for minute wave 5 to complete there, but I thought, okay, maybe we get enough support that completes the third, we get a 4, and then we come down in the fifth to complete. Now, we're inside the subminuette fifth wave to complete minuette wave 3. So again, this is Elliott at its finest, and where we can get these clean enough moves. Now, remember, we're coming out of a wave that of a pattern that just was like confusing and crazy and basically very confusing, till finally we could figure it out. And now we've dropped back into a clean decline. And whether it's decline, but in clean impulsive wave is what I really want to say. And with all the subdivisions being clean within. So inside this subminuette wave 5, we're subdividing again. Now I want to go down to the hourly chart because we can see those subdivisions very cleanly down here on the hourly chart. So again, here we are. This is coming into today. We came down, wave 3, put in a clean 4. And that all happened overnight, as I had suggested it might. And then as we started our session, boom, from the get-go. Okay, now we go down. So what we formed was wave 1, then we got a rally for wave 2, and then it was just pretty much solid decline, even on the hourly chart, solid decline. I broke it down. I took a look at this on the 30-minute, and it's still pretty straight, solid decline. Now, let's take it back down. Let's go take a look at the 15-minute. Let's see if we can get any breaks in here so we can try to determine if there's a possibility that this third wave is complete. We get a little 1, a very small 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, but then that's just the third wave. So again, even with the subdivisions, that's why I put the 3 here, because on the hourly, you wouldn't be able to tell. You'd be taking a guess that maybe it did. But when I go back to that hourly, you're going to see that I have put the 3 here. So now we can fit in our fibs to see what we can expect for a small bounce. Again, we might get that overnight, or we'll get it at the start of Globex here on the basis that AMAT reported this afternoon, and now the stock is about 2 3/4, almost 3 points higher from its close. Earnings were not too bad, so everybody's going to be like jumping on it. I don't know how much they're really going to want to pump this one up, because if the market is still in the we're getting out mode, it's not going to make any difference what AMAT's earnings are. AMAT will be sold along with everything else, and so I'm not sure how hard they're going to want to try to buy this up, thinking that, okay, it now just needs to rally because their second quarter earnings were okay. So we'll see. Again, we'll see. But we're due for that small fourth wave. So where are we going to connect this? We're going to look where wave 3 started to where wave 3 finished. If we're taking it, that's what clean this up, because I don't think we need all of this. And I'll leave the 1. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Come on. Get rid of that and say, okay. So coming back up, let me open it up a little bit this way so we can get these in there. What we have is 0.382. So closed at 14,738.25, which was the low. And actually the close was 43.50, so a little bit higher. So, but we're connecting it to the all of wave 3. 0.382 most common, which happens to just be where the hourly 4 is, moving average, that is hourly moving average. And then we have the hourly 8. So we've got our resistance, which I really think is going to fit pretty cleanly and should contain it, is at 14,008. I'll call it 20. And that would be 382. And then 14,845 would be the 50% retracement. And if that does fall into place, and that's as high as we get, and we come back down, our next support level, which would then complete this subminuette wave 5, and in turn complete the minuette wave 3. So we're rolling through the completion points. So if we get 1 2 1 2 and 1 2, we're finishing out 3 4 5 4 5 4 5. So first up, 4 5 completes this 5, and then we have another. That would be the 3, and then we get one more 4 5. Now, this first one, so the subminuette, may end up down here 14,653. If you'll notice this afternoon, when the selling really started to kick in about 2 o'clock Eastern, actually 1 o'clock Eastern, they started to just hit it. They let, and it would bounce, but then when they sold it, and it wasn't that it was dropping fast. It was just consistent. It was just a solid push. And it felt as if the buyers that came in and that were present were, again, in stocks like Google, NVIDIA, and that's really about it. That's about the only two that played between being down and being up, and actually Google remained up for most of the session. Now, when you get one stock that can really control a little bit of a pop in the index, that's kind of amazing to me. So the buyers across the board were just kind of out to lunch. They were not going to step back in. So it would seem that the larger players were like, okay, we're moving out. It's time. And all of the jive, all of the noise, everything that everybody's talking about, they're all taking to heart, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of it's coming through because of interest rates. And I know I've had this discussion so many times, that up at the top of the pecking order there sits interest rates. Whatever happens to interest rates is going to affect everything underneath it, because it's the cost of borrowing and it's the cost of lending. And so that's how business gets done. That's how we all do things in our worlds these days. We're either borrowing it or we're lending it. And so what are you going to get for your money? So with that in mind, if interest rates are continuing to creep higher, what we continue to see in the bond market is sort of a reaction to that. But also the bond market continues to factor in the continuing funding process, which is rolled again. And now we're back to seeing the real short-term paper, like the 4-week Treasury bills, the 8-week Treasury bills. I think today I saw there was the 17-week, and they're now pressing 5.3. Remember, Fed set the range. It was 5 to 5.25. Now it's 5.25 to 5.5. And it's being felt. It is being felt. On top of all that, within the interest rates, we cannot forget that Fitch downgraded the U.S. That is the good faith and credit of the United States has now been downgraded. Not so much that it's like unworthy, but going from AAA, we're the best, you can always depend on the United States to pay its obligations, to one notch lower, like maybe some of that's going to be a little bit questionable, does affect us all. And really, what was really behind Fitch, if you listen to what they said, was the brinkmanship that took place within our House of Representatives and the Senate, within our Congress. All of this talk, we'll just shut down the government. We don't care if we have to pay our bills. Really? You better, because now you need to be reelected, and somebody's going to come up and say, hey, whatever. I don't mean to be political, but there's a lot of nonsense going on there as well. And they're talking again, because we need to refund again. Next month, we need to come to an agreement. It's just never ending. And now we're talking about maybe until we get something different in the bill. So this goes different. We're not gonna do it. Now watch them downgrade it again. So that starts to get factored in. There's been no change to what is going on. So we'll see. So again, bond market, interest rates. And if that threat is there, and we're seeing now the rates might go 5.5, what are they going to do? 5.5 to 5.75? All right. We already know that the Fed is now rumored that they're taking note that inflation's creeping back in. Rates may need to go up again. Now, they've left open that possibility of one more hike this year. Notice what's now absent from the conversation or from the narrative. Oh, Fed's going to pause in September. Fed's going to pause in September. Really? Do you want to tell those sellers? Any case, let's get back to the technical picture. The technical picture tells us that we're likely to get a small bounce in the way of a very sub wave 4. come down, put an additional low below what we saw today, 14,738. That'll put in the wave 5. Hopefully it won't again extend in and of itself, but we have that support. Next support from where we are now is 90 points lower. So that support comes in at 14,653. That is where possibly minuette wave 5 will complete, and in turn, subminuette wave 5 will complete, and in turn it'll complete minuette wave 3, right? So we get the 5, that'll complete the 3, and I'll go down here. Then we're doing a minuette wave 4, and then a minuette wave 5, and that will then complete minute wave 5, and we'll stick a minor wave 1 underneath it. That is the point at where we really start looking for a larger minor wave 2. Again, we're going to be taking reference points from what's going on, what the general feel is, what's happening within the bond market, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so moving averages, everything's still right directly in line to show us that we should continue to go down. You can see that these things are nosediving. If you look at the 8 and the 4, they're nosediving. The 20 over the cliff and down it goes. The 50 starting to really angle lower. The 200s angling, no longer flat. They're picking it up, but this is the 200-day. So this is going to take a little bit longer to get itself really pointing. A crash would turn it right down, nose down, but that's not how this traded today. So it was just consistent. It just went down. They hit the bids, hit the bids, hit the bids. And eventually, if you're not going to stand there and buy it, you're not putting your bid out there. And it just walked away. And then soon as the sellers were done, then maybe you had the short covering, whatever, from day trading or whomever, and we saw a little pop. But then soon as it just came in and took it right back. So again, that's what I'm looking for tomorrow. Now, then we get the weekend to kind of decide. I'm not really thinking that we're going to end on the highs of the day tomorrow. I could be wrong. I think we end on the lows of the day again, as we did today. Tomorrow is a weekly expiration as well as a daily. And we've got a lot of stuff coming off. So we shall see. We shall see how this is all going to pan out. Over in the S&P, same story, but they're just slightly ahead of us, or slightly ahead of the NASDAQ, I should say. So here again, just to pick up, this is kind of what I was showing yesterday, and there is the high. The high is at 46.34. Minute 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in minute wave 5. As far as everything else, it all still fits except for that one right there, and I still am looking at it. I'm just not going to change it. Because even if I change it to a double, whatever somebody was making a recommendation, it then still fits within this border here. In any case, here we are. Now, minute wave 5. Minuette 1, minuette 2, and we are subdividing again inside this. So really what I'm continuing to talk about, what we got going on inside of minuette 5 is a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's nesting first and second waves. And a lot of times I've done this and I hold back on putting them in because every time I've done it, the market lets me know, no, we weren't. And they go blasting higher, blowing all of this out of the water. But right now, this is how it fits. When you're able to just really, it's nesting. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it's subdividing all the way down. So what we ended up completing today, and again, very clean, very clean. And again, this is pretty much, at least on the hourly, you can see 1, 2, 3. So do we need that other 4? And I took it down and I thought, no, I think I'm going to have to be okay with the fact that it completed it. And we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why I put this. This is the minuette. This is the these are the minuette degrees, subminuette, and sub-sub. So we got, and look at how beautiful that is. And this is just a third, a subminuette wave 3. Took us from 44.67 down to 43.77. That's almost 100 points. So making this minuette wave 3 very large, 45.17 down to what comes up next, 43.33. Wow, it's pretty heavy. Pretty heavy if you ask me. But what we'll look for is the completion. Let me go back out to my hourly chart. We'll get this all kind of back in line, open it up just a little bit here. We get the 3, we get a 4. So where can we go? It's going to be a little bit bigger. And then here we got here, and we're going to put it in down to there. And let me go in and clean this up because I got way too much on there and I don't need it all. Bing, 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 bing. I'll leave that up there. Come on. And say, okay. All right, so there is the 100%. And here's the 0%. And then what do we have in between? 382, going to come in right again. This was support. Now it should be resistance. So we kind of get the double resistance at 40, 44.14, 44.11 is 618. 44.22 is that 50%. So we have a very strong zone here, which would get this fourth wave into the fourth wave of 1 lesser degree nicely, by the way, very nicely. And that would fit. So there's our zone. So any bounce is going to come now. I am suspecting that it's going to meet a lot of resistance right up in here. And that'll be that tune. Now, both are starting to bounce just a little bit here. And because they're just starting to open. And NASDAQ at about 53.54 and S&P 81. So close to 77, coming in about 81. So again, I'm going to take that off because we get too many lines on our chart. So we get that 4. It's got a long way to go. And it's barely budging. So we'll see how this all comes to fruition here. And then again, where's our support? Our support comes in at 43.33, and that may just be minute wave 3. And then we get a minute 4 and a minute wet wave 3, minuette wave 4, and minuette wave 5. And that completes minute wave 5. 43.33, and the next one down after that is 42.90. So this, see how easily it dropped to that next support zone? Clean. These supports were clean. It came down 14, it played around, came down a little bit, played around, and then when it broke it, I tailed it down to that next level. So it's following clean Elliott, and it's following clean Fibonacci and Elliott. So let's just see if it'll continue to do that. So our next up is 43.33, and that's going to be where minute wave 5 would be 2.618 of minute wave 1. And outside of that one, we would have, and here, this is actually for minuette wave 3. And I'm thinking that, if this rises up and comes back down and doesn't get too far below here, I can put a 3 there, and it's going to keep it very clean. I don't have that next set because we haven't done the minuette wave 4. We're still in that process. In fact, we're still in the process of just completing minuette wave 3, and that might happen down here. And then we get a 4, and then we get a 5. So 1.618. The next one down for that one comes all the way down here. I'm hoping that that's not how third goes, because that could be a very serious drop, and that's just kicking off the initial first 5 on a minor degree of the larger move. So the downside continues. Now, just briefly, I will take a look at, I'm still running this. The C wave, 1.618, where wave C would be 1.618 of wave A, comes in at 43.55. And then we have another larger. Let me see where that one is, or what this one is. This is now for a larger fourth wave, right? If we're looking for the minor 4, that's where the 382 is. So, honing in, right? 4340 is where minor wave 4, the normal retracement, 4340. And up here, everybody thought, never, not going to get there. It's so far away. Here we are knocking on the door. Basically, we're knocking on the door. So this is going to get interesting because it stays alive. Now, mind you, we're getting some serious selling here. If this alternate view is going to step into place and actually hold and take over, we have to wait for the next move. Now, preferred count, which I'm showing in the futures, we finish that minor wave 1 and we get an ABC minor wave 2. Here, it would be a minor wave 4, and a minor wave 5 would be expected to come up and go above 4607. Now, the same conversation that I get from a lot of people, never going to happen. It's it. Do you now get when I say stranger things? I hope people are beginning to understand. It's like, don't discount things just because you feel it's too much territory to cover. Oh, we've dropped too far. The market's not going to recover. Stranger things have happened, folks. So it's not down and out yet. And as I'm going to repeat, it needs to stay alive until it's done or it invalidates itself. And if that's the case, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, that would suggest we've got to get below 4,040. 4,040 is where minor wave 4 would then overlap minor wave 1. Even if I put it up to here, folks, if I rearranged it and got minor wave 1 actually finished here, you're looking at 41.72. Still got a lot of room. So I'm going to finish it up there. Tomorrow, there aren't any economic numbers. So it's like, hey, market, you're on your own. So we'll see. I won't have anything to kickstart it pre-market. So we shall see what is going to unfold. And that's where I'm going to finish it up for today. The next update will be on Sunday. I'm forgetting the date. Sunday, 20th. Sorry, Sunday, August the 20th. And again, I always have the best intentions of I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get it done because I have the time, and then the time just goes by and I get tossed and turned and pulled in a different direction. But I will attempt to put together a big picture and a podcast with the big picture, the big technical picture for both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, and try to get it in because the bonds are also close. So I owe everybody a bond, an interest rate update, just because that big picture needs to be updated. All right, have a great trading day tomorrow, and then have a great weekend.